least more accessible siya compared to stream. And with that, no, let's welcome this Bements with hope na ganon. May ganon. But anyway, sige. Let's begin our discussion on matter. Okay. So, last time we discussed that chemistry is the study of matter, no? And I emphasized that last time sabi ko no na yung matter is everything, no? Because the definition of matter is vague, no? And yun naman kasi talaga yung purpose niya. It tries to explain everything and no. Okay, so sabi natin matter is anything that occupies space and has mass, no? Okay, so anything that occupies space has mass. So basically everything ano. So everything around us ay matter, no? So yun. Okay. But in chemistry, no, we can classify matter depending on its composition or properties, no? For example, we can classify matter based on the substance that it contains, no? Okay, so paano yan? So we can classify matter into two categories. We will have pure substances and mixtures, no? So when we say pure substances, your matter or your substance is just composed of the same atoms or the same molecules, no? Okay, so yan. They have the same atoms and the same molecules, no? Okay, so for example, water. So water is a pure substance because all throughout it contains H2O molecules, no? Ano pa yung the same all throughout? Let's say, itong iron na to, itong bakal na iron na to, no? So, this bakal, no, it contains the same elements, no, all throughout, no? Hence it is a pure substance. Okay? So, as long as your substance contains the same amount of particles, the same amount of molecules, or the same identity of molecules, same identity of particles, no? That means you have a pure substance, no? For mixtures naman, on the other hand, no, this is a combination of two or more pure substances. No? So for example, isang good example nito would be your alcohol. No? Itong ethyl alcohol ko dito, this is, teka, hanapin ko yung percent niya. Okay, so this is 70% alcohol. No? So what it means is that 70% of the substances in here is ethanol. Okay, the ethanol is the alcohol, no? Yeah, so 70% siyang alcohol. How about the 30%, no? 30% of which is just water, no? So this is a mixture, no? So it is composed of water molecules, H2O, and ethanol molecules, C3H6O. No? So yan yung kanyang composition. No? Ano pa yung mga example ng mixture? Let's say, ano kaya example pa? Yung juice na kunwari, nag-juice ka kaninang merienda, tanghalian, di pa pala merienda. Okay. So, saan gawa yung juice natin? Of course, water molecules, then sugar molecules. What else? Yung vitamin C that you can find from your extracts in your powder, no? And then yung mga sweetener, artificial colors. So, yan. So, there are different molecules in one container. So, we can say that one is a mixture, no? So, iba-iba yung mga chemical substances, iba-iba yung mga molecules na nandun, no? Iba-iba yung atom na nandun. Another example would be air. So, air around us, no? This is not pure oxygen gas. Kasi pag nangyari yon, pag may nasunog sa kabilang parte ng mundo, sunog din tayo, no? So, that actually happened, no? Sadly, that happened to Apollo 1, no, the test flight before the launch of humans to the moon, no. What happened in Apollo 1 is that your spacecraft, yung capsule, Apollo capsule, it was filled with pure oxygen. Okay, pure oxygen. So, parang wala naman siguro problema doon, no? Hindi, yun nga yung problema, oxygen eh. Okay, because according sa mga nakwento ko last time, I don't know if dito yun sa section na to, no? There are three components to make a combustion happen, no? Para magkaroon ng apoy. You should have a fuel, you should have an oxidizer, and the ignition, and an ignition source, no? Okay. So yung oxygen gas in that capsule, no, that is an oxidizer, no, which will allow the combustion of the fuel, no. Ano yung mga fuel na nandun sa spacecraft? Yung katawan ng tao, yung inuupuan nilang mga gamit, no, mga papel-papel nila sa spacecraft. Then ignition, no. What happened kasi is ito, no. So while they were performing some test, no, may napansin silang nag-spark, no? Sabi nila ano yung nag-spark na yun. Pero syempre English, no? Mamaya may naamoy na daw silang nasusunog. Then eventually, a fire broke out, killing all the three persons inside the capsule. Okay. But lucky for us, the air around us is not 100% oxygen. Ano ba yung composition ng air around us? No? So the air around us is composed of nitrogen gas, oxygen gas, yung hininga natin, ano pa ba, carbon dioxide, methane, may mga ganun dito, no? So on and so forth, no? Even argon, meron daw sa gas sa paligid natin. Okay. So yan. But looking at our example na gas, no? So yung air natin, parang hindi naman natin ma-observe na mixture siya, di ba? Hindi talaga kasi hindi naman natin nakikita siya, no? Hence, pwede natin ma-classify yung mixture natin into two based on their appearance, no? So, if we have a homogeneous mixture, that means the composition of your particles is uniform all throughout, no? Iisa yung itsura nila as per se, no? For example, yung air nga, ano? Yung yung ano naman, oxygen molecules, they behave similarly with nitrogen gas molecules. So yun, so when they mix, nothing much happens, no? So yun, so same sila ng appearance. What else? Itong alcohol na to, no? As you can see, di ko naman nakikita nyo, pero kung may alcohol kayo din sa inyo, wala namang tayo nakikitang layers, no? Yung water and yung ethanol, we cannot distinguish one from the other. So that means we have a homogeneous mixture in here, no? That their composition is the same all throughout, no? How about heterogeneous mixture? So for heterogeneous mixture, what we have here is there is a non-uniform distribution of matter, no? So hindi maganda yung pagkaka-distribute ng matter, hence mayroong layers na mapo-form, no? One example would be your oil in water, di ba? Kasi when you add oil to your water, kahit ano gawin mo, they will not mix, no? Okay, so yun. That is something to do with their polarities as well, no? So yun, kahit ano gawin mong mixing dyan, walang mangyayari. Another example is if you put sand on water, no? Naglagay ka ng buhangin sa tubig, bakit? Aba, malay ko. Example lang naman. So, yun. So, makikita nyo that there is a cloud mixture, no? May cloud ng buhangin particles na umiikot sa water until they eventually separate into two layers, no? Okay. So, in summary, we can classify matter as pure substances. That means the same elements, the same compounds. And mixture, this is the combination of your substances depending on how much ratio gusto mo, okay lang, no? And we can classify mixtures based on their appearance, no? So we can have homogeneous and heterogeneous, no? So for homogeneous, the same phase is observed all throughout. Example is air, it is always in gas phase, no? Example for liquid would be yung alcohol natin. And for solids, no, one good example for homogeneous mixtures in solids would be your amalgam, no, dental amalgam. Ano yan, meron yan. Yung iba, no, lalo na yung mga lumang panahon, no. Kaya sabi nila, di ba, may gold sa ngipin yung matatanda, no? Kasi what dentists do, no, wala pa kasing pasta nun, no? So, amalgam lang meron. They mix mercury with metals, no? Safe naman daw. Okay. So, yan. So, in making golden teeth, no, yung mga pinapasok sa ngipin ng gold na yun, no. So, they add some drops of mercury to your gold, no. Then, ilalagay siya sa ngipin, then titigas na yun, no. So, parang good as pasta na rin, no. So, yan, that's homogeneous type of mixture, no. So, it is the same all throughout. What else, no? Yung medals, no. Medals, especially yung bronze, no. Bronze medals are made from mixing copper and aluminum or silver. Depende, no? Depende sa gumagawa, no? Pero yun. But the idea is that there are different atoms. Iba yung atoms ng copper, iba yung atoms ng, let's say, aluminum, no? Pero pag nag-mix sila, they still form the same compound, the same phase, no? So, solid pa rin siya. Hence, a homogeneous form of matter or homogeneous mixture. Pag hetero naman, so there's a distinction between layers. No? May nagtanong sa akin last time, sabi niya, Sir, paano po yung gelatin? No? So, good question yun. No? Sir, paano po yung dust particles, yung aerosols? No? So, yun. Ang difference kasi between homogeneous and heterogeneous particles, no, is that the particle size, no. For homogeneous mixture to exist, the particles should be very, very tiny enough, no. So it can seep into the solution. Pwede siya pumasok sa mga butas-butas ng molecules, no. Pwede siya humalo evenly, no, forming a solution. Pero pag heterogeneous mixture naman, the particle size is quite big, no? It is big and gravity can actually pull them from the solution. So, yun, masyado siyang malaki. So, it is influenced by gravity na. So, it will sink at the bottom of your container. No? So, ganun yung nangyayari. Pero, for those examples, such as gelatin, mga aerosols, we call them colloids, no? And colloids is somewhere in between the homogeneous and the heterogeneous mixture. So, hindi siya iisa ng phase, no? Because it actually shows at least two distinct phases, no? For gelatin, it behaves liquidy, pero solid chunk siya. Okay? So, tinawag yung colloid, no? So, for gelatin, tawag doon ay mga sol. I think sol yung tawag doon, no? So, yan. What else? Nag-sneeze ka, no? So, yung water droplets from your sneeze, no, will mix sa air, no? So, that is liquid in air. We call that aerosol for colloids, no? Kasama na rin doon si coronavirus, kaya si influenza. Okay, pero sana wala naman, no? Kaya you use your face mask always. Ano pa ba? Ayan, nag-spray ka ng pabango. Kunwari itong alcohol, spray ko siya. Okay? So, yung water particles, it gets distributed in the air uniformly, pero I can see still the particles, no? So, I will tell na colloid siya, no? So, siguro yung discussion on colloid that will be discussed in depth in your analytical chemistry, no? So, next time na yun, no? But anyway, we'll focus on these two. No? So, yan, homogeneous, same phase, heterogeneous, different phases can be observed. No? And what else do we know about mixtures? We can separate them into pure substances. No? You can use the concept or the idea of you can use the concept or the idea of different chemical properties of each substances mixed in your mixture, no? Kasi when you mix water and alcohol, no, the chemical properties of alcohol is still intact with it, no? And the chemical properties of water is still intact with it, no? So, hindi nagbabago yung kanilang chemical property because if the chemical property changes, then chemical reaction na yun. Hindi yun yung usapan, ha? Okay, so pag pinaghalo mo yung water molecules and alcohol molecules, yung behavior ni water molecules, ganun pa rin. Yung behavior ni alcohol molecules, ganun pa rin naman, no? So, yan. For example, I'm going to purify my alcohol. Meaning nun, gusto ko kunin yung buong alcohol molecules. Ito, from 70%, kunwari, gusto ko gawing 99.9%, no? Para patay talaga yung germs, no? Okay. Kaya kung gusto mo uminom ng alak, purify mo. Paano kaya, no? Okay, so ganito lang, no? We can use the concept of distillation, no? Sadly, wala tayong picture dito. Hanap tayo sa Google. Pakita ko sa inyo. Distillation. Ayan. Nice one. Pakita ko sa inyo. Ayan. Okay. So, yan. So, ayan, distillation, no? So, anong ginagawa sa distillation? So, I will pour my mixture, my homogeneous mixture, into this container, no? Ayan, container na yan. Then, I will use the concept na each substances will boil at different temperatures. For example, ethanol will boil at around 78 degrees Celsius, if I'm not mistaken, and water will boil at 100 degrees Celsius. No? So by the time the setup, the water bath mixture reaches 78 degrees Celsius, what will happen is that yung ethanol molecules ko, they will start boiling, but the water will not. No? Okay. So as the alcohol molecules are being boiled off, no, they will travel up to this column. Then they will go here sa ating condenser. In the condenser, there is a cold water running through. Ayan, nasa light blue na yan. So sayang, no, hindi natin ito magagawa. No? But anyway, imaginein na lang natin muna. Okay. So ayan, so when the when the alcohol vapors reaches this condenser, ano mangyayari? Ito kasi malamig to. So what will happen to the water, to the alcohol vapor? They will condense. Magiging liquid uli sila. And then you will get your distillate or your alcohol na pure. No? So saan pa ito ginagamit, sir? No? So may isa pang uri ng distillation na gamit sa buhay natin. Ba't napunta ako sa shopping? Ngayon alam nyo, nasa Valenzuela ako, di ba? Okay. So, itong type naman ng distillation, ito yung ginagamit para magkaroon tayo ng fuel, mga gasolina. No? So, this is called the fractional distillation. For example, nasa oil rig ka, no? Then, di ba, pag nag-pump ka from the oil rig, crude oil tawag doon, no? So, the crude oil will pass through this column, no? Wherein different chemical compounds will be separated based on their temperatures, boiling points. No? Okay, so yan, we can separate the crude oil, yung galing sa oil tankers. No? We can separate them into gas, yung mga gas lang. Mga methane, butane, no? Yung ginagamit sa LPG. And yung pwede rin natin ma-separate yung mga gasolina, no? Yung ginagamit pang linis ng face mask. Joke lang, huwag nyo gawin. Please. So, yan. So, we can separate yung gas na nasa tangke na LPG. Ayun, so dyan siya. Then, ito yung ginagamit sa vehicles, no? Ayan. So, itong kerosene din sa vehicles, diesel oil, ito na yung para sa pan-lubricate ng engine, no? Then fuel oil, and everything else, ito na yung ginagamit sa asphalt, no? Yung yung kulay itim sa kalsada. Okay, so yun. So lahat ng iyan, they came from the crude oil, no? So we can say pala that crude oil is a mixture because as you can see, if we separate the particles of crude oil, no? Marami pala siyang different, marami siyang iba't ibang uri ng substances in it, no? So, yan. Okay, so that's one way for you to separate your mixtures, no? You do distillation, no? Okay, so what's the concept behind distillation again? Each substances still retain their chemical properties, no, such as the boiling point, no, and we just use them, no, in order to separate our mixtures, no. Okay, so what's next, no? So after distillation, no, we can do ano naman, we can do separations manually, no. For example, the decantation. Pakita natin yung decantation. So ayan. Example ng decantation is that here, no. For example, you have ayan. Okay. So for decantation, ito ginagawa ko to pag ano eh, may commercial pa. Ginagawa ko to kapag kunwari I'm storing food na oily, no. Okay, so what I will do is that I will decant the oil of the adobo, let's say, no. Okay, so yung oil kasi mabilis siya magka-clump. So I can separate that manually o kaya I can decant it, no. I will wait until the oil layer is on the top and the adobo sauce layer at the bottom, no. Kasi ganun nangyayari, diba? So what I will do, kunwari ito yung adobo sauce, ito yung oil. What I will do is I will slightly lean my container in order for the oil to be passed through the next container, no? So kunwari yan yung oil, it will flow to the other container. Okay, so that's decantation, no? You can do, that means you do chemistry at home, no? Hindi lang kayo aware. So yeah. So yeah. And other several examples include yung yung mechanical separation. You can use magnets in separating particles, magnetic particles from non-magnetic particles, no? So that's the idea, no? So again, can we separate mixtures into pure substances? Yes po, no? So there's lots of way to separate your mixture into pure substances, no? You can do it mechanically by decantation or just filtering, no? Filtering is a good example of separating mixtures, no? But for homogeneous mixtures, it requires much more skills, no? So we do distillation instead, no? Even yung reverse osmosis, no? You can remove the salt particles from water. So it will be potable. Pwede na inumin, no? So ganun. That's one way of separating your mixtures. Parang sinabi ko na yung lalabas sa quiz nyo. So yan. But anyway, let's go back to our substances, no? So substances, as I told you earlier, it could be elements or compounds. Now, when they say elements, these are the simplest version of any types of matter. Simplest version siya in the sense that iisa sila ng atoms. No? So iba-iba yung atoms natin. Alam natin, we have atoms for hydrogen, atoms for helium, up to, hindi pala updated tong periodic table ko dun. Organeson. So, yan. So, from hydrogen to organeson, iba-iba sila ng uri ng atom, no? But that's the simplest, eh. We cannot further divide that. Kasi if we divide our atom, explosion is ensured, no? That's nuclear fission, no? Okay, so yun yung idea. And we can combine those elements to form chemical compounds. Now, for example, you're going to produce carbon dioxide. What you want to do is to combine carbons and two oxygen atoms, no? So they will form compounds, no? What else, no? For example, you want to produce water from hydrogen gas to oxygen gas, then you can do it, no? You can form water from hydrogen gas and oxygen gas by doing chemical reactions. Siguro some of you will ask, no? Although hindi ko alam kung tatanong niyo talaga, Sir, would it be possible for a compound to be simplified, no? Or to be purified into elements? Pwede ba yun, Sir, from compound to elements? Kasi yung araw dito, papunta lang dun eh. Pwede po, no? We can turn our compounds into elements. How? No? We will do chemical reactions then, no? So, one good example is the anong tawag doon? The electrolysis, no? So, for example, we have water and we applied electrical current onto it. So, ibig sabihin, no, kinuryente mo lang yung tubig, that will actually produce hydrogen gases and oxygen gases. No? So you can separate your compounds into elements by also doing chemical reactions. No? That's possible, although that's quite uh, tedious. No? Medyo mahirap gawin because yun nga, dito kailangan mo ng kuryente. Mahal-mahal na ng kuryente natin, so wag na natin gawin. No? And risky, okay? So yun. But we can do it. No? We can convert our compounds to elements or elements to compounds via chemical reactions. No? Okay, so that's it. No? So that's the idea about matter. Matter is anything that occupies space and has mass, and we can separate them into two different types of matter. We have pure substances, that means they have the same atoms or the same molecules all throughout. For mixtures naman, you have the same hindi pala you have the same. You have a combination of two or more substances na. If they form the same phase, homogeneous mixture. If they do not form same phases, that means may layers, kunwari, then you have heterogeneous mixture. Anything in between the two, no? If dalawa talaga yung distinct appearance, no, or property ng matter mo, you have colloids, no? But again, colloids is quite more technical, so next sem na lang siya, no? Okay, so yun. Then, yun, we can separate our mixtures into pure substances, pwedeng physically, no? Or by using their chemical properties such as boiling point, just like what we explained kanina with distillation. Okay, so yan. But again, the simplest version of matter is the elements. So yun lang yung idea natin. Okay, so do you have any questions po? Oh, sige. So, feel ko wala na. No? Pero, andyan pa naman kayo siguro. No? Sige. So, nag-watch tayo ng Netflix. Hindi, joke na. Magsasagot tayo ng ilang items, no? To test our understanding. Yan yung ginawa namin kanina sa lab. No? Wow, math. No? Okay. So, anyway, dito tayo sa lecture. Ito, dito yung number 1. Don't worry, yung number 1 sa lab yun. Ha? Okay, so we will answer number 2. So we are given different substances from A to L, and I want you to help me to answer this. No? So you can raise your hand, no, if you want, then use your microphone for reciting. No? Okay. Sabi dyan, classify each of the following as an element, a compound, or a mixture. So let's begin with letter A, oxygen. Ano kaya yung oxygen? Yes, Justin?
Oxygen is a element po, sir.
Element na. Okay, so table salt. Xylene.
Sir, compound po.
Compound. Because table salt is composed of sodium atoms and chlorine atoms. Ay, bakit di ko siya? Ayun. Ay, ano nangyari? Wait lang. Ayun. Anyway, oxygen is an element. Pa tayo mag-drawing. Ay. Saka lang. Hindi ko di siya naka-pair. Okay, so anyway, saka na natin pencil nito. Ngayon ko na siya i-troubleshoot. Okay, so for oxygen, that is element, table salt is a compound. No? Why is it a compound? Kasi it is a molecule actually, no, composed of sodium atoms and chlorine atoms. So yan. So thank you, xylene. No? Seawater. Sige, Jaziel. Jazel. Ano ba? Ayan, basta yan.
Mixture po.
Mixture. Ano ba yung mga nakahalo sa salt water? Bigay tayong examples. Water. Ano pa? Asin. Ano pa? O yan, basta yan. Yung marami nakahalo kasi sa seawater, no? Water, salt, and minerals, mga planktons, no? So all of those are included, no? Nakahalo sila sa seawater. But again, no, the phase is the same naman, so mixture siya. Homogeneous mixture. How about wine? Monerada. No, monerada.
Mixture po.
Okay, so wine is a mixture, no? It's like alcohol lang, no? So, ibig sabihin ba nun, sir, pwede ko inumin yung alcohol dito sa bahay? Technically, but ang difference ng, ito yung tinanong to sa akin ng senior high dati, sabi nila, sir, tikman mo nga yung alcohol mo kung malalasing ka. Hindi pinakita ko, tinikman ko sa kanila. So, mapait na. Kasi the reason why hindi to pwede inumin as, as pampalipas oras, like, like typical beverages, is that hinaluan nila to ng chemicals na ang purpose is yung ayawan mo siya, mapait, no? So, nilalagyan nila to ng chemicals na mapait. So, hindi siya pwede inumin, no? So, mga professional lang pwede gumawa. Okay. So, let's have air. Ito yung example. Pero sige. Ramon, Angelo.
Mixture po,
Angelo.
sir.
Mixture
Mixture.
yung air, no? Like what we discussed, no? Ang air ay gawa sa iba't ibang gases such as oxygen, nitrogen, yung hininga mo. Yun. So, halo-halo yan. Silver. Brent.
Element po, sir.
Element. Okay. So, yan. Isa lang sila ng atoms. No? Diamond. Ayan, sige. Jennifer Denise. Sige, si Jennifer Denise. Sige. So, si Paulo na lang. Paulo.
Compound po, sir.
Compound. Sige. Ano pa kaya? May chat pala. Teka lang. Sige, Jennifer. Message mo na lang. Ano guess mo for diamond? Element po. Okay, so the answer is element, no? Wala. Paano yun nangyari, no? Actually, carbon has different forms, no? Iba-iba yung uri niya. Ang tawag natin doon is allotropes, no? They still have the same chemical formula. Ayun, gumana na siya. Thank you, Lord. Element, compound, mixture, element. Ito ay element, no? So again, no, diamond is actually composed of the same atoms like your charcoal sa bahay. Yung uling niya sa bahay, if you subject it into very high pressures, no, nilagay mo siya sa ilalim ng bulkan, ayun, so the atoms can actually compress further, creating diamonds, no? So, amazing, di ba? Kaya nga sabi nila, ito quotation ko na favorite ko sa mga bata, no pressure, no diamonds, no? So, yan, the more we get pressured, that means the more we are being turned into something that is more precious, no? So, yan. So, sana that's how we think of the pressures around us, no? Pero not all pressures should be tolerated, ha? Minsan kailangan rin magpahinga. Pero that's the idea, no? The more pressure for carbon-based matter naman tayo, ayun, so, will turn into diamonds, no? May mas precious tayo. Okay, so pebbles, si bato, pebbles. Si pebbles, ano yung kanyang category? Element, compound, mixture. Google natin. Ginugoogle nila. Ito si, nag-recite na si JB. JB, Jazel, mag-recite ka pa. Wow, ano kaya yung pebbles? Xylene.
Sir, mixture po.
Yes, no? Mixture yung pebbles. Okay? So yung stones natin kasi, it is actually composed of different molecules, different particles. No? So it is made of silicon dioxide, no? And salts, no? Yung mga calcium carbonates, mga sodium chlorides din, no? So yung mga yun, they clump up to form pebbles, stones, na. So yan. So it is a mixture. Gasoline, no? Melissa.
Mixture po.
Okay, so pwede siya mixture, no? Pwede rin compound pag pure siya, no? Pero yan. So, pero most of the time, it is mixture, no? So, ano ba yung mga nakahalo sa gasoline natin? So, we have our hydrocarbons, mga octane, nonane, mga, hexane, no? So, yung mga ganong, yung mga ganong hydrocarbons, they are all mixed, no? In right proportions para maging fuel efficient ang ating machine. Milk. Sige, si Aiza.
Mixture po.
Mixture ang milk. Saan gawa ang milk? Sa gatas. And then, may fats yan, no? May fats, may water, and minerals, no? They're all mixed up. Carbon dioxide. Sige. Piel Collado.
It's a compound po.
Okay, compound yan, no? Kasi CO2 lang siya all throughout. And lastly, bronze. So, we'll have Alessandra. Alessandra is Star Barameda. Bronze ay may mag-steal si Justin.
Mixture po.
Ayun, so nagsalita na si Alessandra. Mixture. So, mixture ang bronze. Ito nga yung example natin kanina. No? So, gawa siya sa copper and different metals, tin, aluminum. No? So, yun. So, still solid siya in appearance. No? But yun. No? So, that's one way to classify matter. No? Is this very much needed in chemistry? Yes, no? So, you have to be familiar with the chemicals you are dealing with around you. No? So, kailangan familiar kayo kung anong classification niya. Para in the future, when you go further down your studies, na alam nyo na kung ano yung mga bagay-bagay. Na. So, yan. And so, do you have any questions po? Or okay pa naman tayo sa discussion natin? So, as you can see, medyo light lang yung discussion pag no? Pag lecture. Ganun talaga. No? Okay. Sige. Yung yung atomic theory that will be discussed by your laboratory. So, we're done with matter. We will now proceed on the periodic table. No? So, yung bilis ng discussion. No? Okay. So, our matter, no? Sabi natin, the simplest form of matter that we have are the elements. No? So we know na we have 118 elements to this date. Pwede ba yan, sir, dumami pa? Pwede, no? We're yet to discover the universe, no? Yet, kasi hindi pa naman talaga tayo tapos. No? We're just starting to explore the universe, no? Okay, so yun. We can discover more elements, no? But the idea is that we have 118 elements, no? Okay, and those elements are placed in the periodic table in such manner that you will see similar properties depending on their their rows or their columns, no? So medyo strategic yung pagkakalagay ng elements in our periodic table. So it is not designed to look like that, but it is meant to be look like this talaga, no? So, hindi siya dinisenyo para maging ganyan, no? Kundi yung sila na mismo yung nagsabi na, uy, ilagay mo ako dito. Kaya andyan sila, no? Okay. So yan, the question, bakit kaya andito itong mga to, andito itong mga to, so on and so forth, no? We will discuss that later, no? But before we go there, no, imagine the world without much knowledge on chemistry, no? So let's say, kunwari, panahon ng mga Egyptians, panahon ng mga Pharaoh, before Common Era, before Christ Era. Okay. So actually, before pa, no, they have this idea about elements, no. So it is Aristotle, no, who actually first hypothesized what the elements are in the Earth, no. So sabi ni Aristotle, no, gulat kayo, may Aristotle, no? Yes po. Sabi ni Aristotle is, feeling ko, pero syempre ibang language, no. So feeling niya daw, ang lahat ng bagay sa Earth, no, they are composed of fire, earth, air, and water. Avatar yun, Sarah. Avatar. Oo nga, Avatar Legend of... yun. So, teka na, naglag ako dun. Isip ko tuloy, mamaya Avatar, ano pala, no? Kung ano na naman. So, yan. So, anyway, dun nag-umpisa yung concept ng Avatar. Dun sa 4 elements given by Aristotle, na. But yun, sabi ni Aristotle, everything here is made of these 4 elements, no? Because that time, yung buildings nila, saan gawa? Sa clay. At the earth yun. Look at the Egyptians, no? Their tablets. Siyempre, walang iPad nun, no? Hindi yung mga, tawag sa mga tableta yan, Rosetta Stone, no? Yung mga ganun nila. Okay, so saan gawa yung mga hieroglyphs? Saan sila pinagsusulat? Saan sila nilalagay? Sa clay lang din na hinulma. The pyramids, gawa yun sa earth na hinulma, no? Ano pa? Marami pong bagay na gawa lang sa earth, no? So sabi nila, mga solid chunks na to, these are made from earth, no? Even yung kahoy, no? Saan ba tumutubo yung kahoy? Tumutubo yung halaman. Edi sa earth. Edi galing sila sa earth, sabi niya. Anything na liquid daw, gawa siya sa water, no? For example, yung dugo, no? So, liquid siya, sabi na, galing yun sa tubig, no? Yung air, hindi nila nakikita, pero nararamdaman nila. So, yun, sabi nila, anything that is felt, no? Pero hindi natin nakikita. So, yun, gawa daw sila sa air. Yung fire, fire daw siya. Okay. So, yun yung idea nila, no? But then again, as science progressed into a very much different form of study, different field of knowledge from philosophy, no? So yun. Ang nangyari kasi, yung science bumukod siya from philosophy, no? Because of the scientific method, no? So yun, bumukod si science from the philosophy, and then later on, we discovered lots of stuff around us, no? And then we redefined the definition of elements, no? Through the help of Democritus, then sila yung mga indivisible particles that we have, no? Okay. So tingnan lang natin yung history ng elements, no? Kasi imagine mo, kung yung periodic table natin, puno agad yan ng una pa lang. Ito yung ating periodic table, yung naka-orange, yan yung present elements lang in the birth of Christ, no? So, ibig sabihin ba niyan, sir, wala silang oxygen gas kasi hindi pa yung discovered, no? Hindi naman. Magkaiba yung discovered sa invented, ha? Yung invented, that means by that time, dun lang siya nag-exist, no? Pero yung discovered, nag-exist na siya beforehand, pero hindi lang natin alam, no? So, ibig sabihin, nung pinanganak si Christ, no, ang alam lang nilang elements is carbon, sulfur, iron, copper, zinc, silver, gold, mercury, lead, so on and so forth, no. Then later on, no, as science progressed, no, so dumadami na yung mga questions about stuff, no, they started investigating on matter. So yun, dumadami ang ating mga elemento. No? At nag-crash yung aking app. Wait lang. History. And tapos magka-crash siya ulit. Ayan. So dumadami na yung ating elemento. Then biglang stonks, di ba? Ayan, dumami na agad na. So yun. So habang dumadami ang ating elements sa periodic table, syempre mapaisip ka, ang periodic table ba dati, nitong panahon na to, is ganyan na? Paano kaya nila in-arrange yan? No? So yun yung mga questions natin. Paano kaya nila i-arrange yan? Nakaganyan ba talaga yan? So, we'll look into the history of the periodic table ngayon. So, let's start. No? So actually, before Duberiners, no, meron pang mas lumang version ng periodic table na that was made by, sino ba yan? Lavoisier? Hindi. Basta yan na. Ginawa niya lang is nilist down niya lang yung elements na. But that doesn't count daw kasi. Okay, so before the conception of the modern periodic table that we have, we first have Duberiners triads, no? And then that was converted into John Newland's octaves and Mendeleev's periodic table, leading to what we have now, no? The complete table. So let's begin with Duberiner's triads. No? So beforehand, no, we only have few elements. No? So onti na yung elements. So you cannot create a full-blown periodic table that time. No? But Duberiner, ang ginawa niya, no? So he arranged the elements that he have, no, by that time based on their chemical properties, the similarities. For example, we have lithium, sodium, potassium. So ano yung kaya yung mga similar with them, no? So ano yung mga similar with them? When you mix them into water, they explode, no? So yan, isa daw sila ng properties. So sige. So si calcium, strontium, barium, pag nilagay mo yan sa tubig, di naman daw nag-explode. Sige. So another column. No? Chlorine, bromine, and iodine, these are very known to be used as insecticides, no? Or panglinis ng mga sugat-sugat, no? Especially mga iodine. No? So yan. Ginawa ni Duberiners that he arranged the elements, no, into triads. No? So yan, tigtatatlo per category, per properties, no. So ganun yung ginawa niya. Okay, so onti pa lang yung elements that time. But the question is, dumadami na yung elements, no. So the triads, no, it is no longer capable of holding the name itself. Hindi na siya pwede maging triad kasi nadagdagan ng element na naman yung na-discover. So what if kunwari, kaya pareha siya ni sodium, no? Ni lithium, potassium. Let's say strontium kunwari yun, no? They have the same properties with this triad. So I should place it, di ba? Okay, so yun. So habang dumadaming elements, yun. Hindi na nag-work yung triads kasi sumusobra na siya from its original purpose, no? Hindi na siya magiging triad, no? So yun, later on, John Newlands, alam ko British to eh. Okay, so what John Newlands did is still the same concept as Duberiners, no? So di ba sabi natin kay Duberiner, inarrange yung elements into similar properties. So John Newlands did the same as well, no? But in octaves, so meaning 8. So may 8 itong 8 groups na to, lahat na nasa baba nila, they have the similar properties, no? So, the same concept, no? Ito yung mga lithium, sodium, potassium na expand lang siya, no? Itong mga rubidium, no? Itong mga beryllium, nadagdag sila, so on and so forth. Okay, so yun lang yung idea. The periodic table made by Duberiners isn't capable of holding too much elements na. Hence, the invention of Newland's octaves. Bakit siya naging octave? Because para daw siyang musical octave, no? For example, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Pagdating mo uli ng do, you have the same properties with all this group na. Okay, so itong mga re, they all have the same properties, no? Ito rin, so on and so forth. So, pare-parehas lang sila ng properties. And they repeat, no? Okay, so by this time, actually, they are having a hint, no? So, may hint na sila in their mind na paulit-ulit lang pala yung properties ng atoms. So, yun naisip na. So, there must be periodic properties. Ayun, lumalabas na yung term na periodic sa periodic table, no? So, yun. So, when you arrange your elements in this manner, mapapansin nyo, yung property ng una, mauulit lang siya after the 8th element. Then, gawin mo uli, mauulit na naman siya. Gawin mo uli yan, then maulit na naman yung properties. So that means the properties are repeating every after certain intervals. No? Okay, so dyan na nagkaroon ng idea about periodicity. And then, andyan na si Russian friend, no? Ruski Federacy. So from the Russia, our motherland, ayan, si Dmitry Mendeleev. Okay. So, Dmitry Mendeleev is actually a chemist, no? Di pa siya Russia eh. Russian Empire maybe, no? So, from Russia siya. So, what he did is that he adapted all the previous ideas by Duberiner and Newlands, no? So, yun. So, he focused on this periodicity thing, no? So, inarrange niya yung elements into what is known today. No? Although hindi pa siya ganyang kaganda, no? So medyo, alam ko wala pa yung wala pa yung transition metals that time, no? Pero, ang good thing with Mendeleev is that he is able to predict, no, certain elements properties by doing this arrangement, no? Kung may mapansin nyo, di ba, there are missing sections here, no? So sabi ni Dmitry Mendeleev, itong element na to, ito nasa cursor ng arrow ko, this would show the similar properties with manganese. Tapos I will predict this as ganito ganyan. No? Predict niya yung atomic mass, atomic number, different properties. And later on, no, when they discover that element, it agrees with his data. No? So, anong klaseng sorcery kaya ginawa ni Dmitry Mendeleev, no? So, not really sorcery, no? But just pure science, no? And pure brilliance, no? And genius, no? So, yeah. So, inarrange niya lang talaga yung elements into such way that you can predict, no? Their properties depending on their periods and the groups, no? Hence, the inception of the modern periodic table, no? So, yun lang. So again, let's recall, no? We started with triads by Duberiner. Okay. Then, nung dumami ng elements, hindi na kaya ng triad. So, we need new table. And then, yeah, si John Newlands, yung to the rescue. No? And then, at this point, no, John Newlands hinted on the idea of periodicity. Ibig sabihin, may nauulit daw. Properties of the 8th element repeats to that of the first. No? So, ibig sabihin niya, may paulit-ulit, may repetition. And those ideas, no, were further used in practice by Dmitry Mendeleev. No? So, yan. So, nakagawa na siya ng modern periodic table where you can predict different elements even before its discovery. No? And it is found out to be true. No? Okay, so ano naman itong ginawa ni Henry Moseley? No? So, ang ginawa naman ni Henry Moseley is this, no? Kasi, before, ito kay Mendeleev pa, no? Ang ginawa ni Mendeleev is that he arranged the periodic table in terms of atomic weights. Depende daw sa bigat, no? Okay. But according to Henry Moseley, it would be nice, no? If you will arrange the periodic table based on their atomic number or the number of protons, no? Because with this arrangement, you will be able to accurately predict the properties of matter, no? So yun nga, in-apply nila yon, then yun, we came up with this periodic table now. Okay, so yun lang. So ngayon, we know that our periodic table is arranged not by mass, but by atomic numbers, no? So, yan. So, kay Dimitri, weights pa rin, pero sabi ni Mosley, gawin nyo na yung mass. Ay, gawin nyo na yung atomic number, no? Gawin nyo ng in terms of number of protons para mas better. Para na, mas na nga better pa, di ba? So, yan. So, we have the modern periodic table, no? So, what are the parts of the periodic table? So, you have your periods, okay? So, ito yung mga periods, yung mga rows, no? So, period 1, we have hydrogen and helium. Period 2, we have lithium to neon, sodium to argon, so on and so forth. No? So, what can we predict on about this period? No? Okay. So, ang pwede natin ma-predict sa mga periods would be the energy levels of electrons, no, that can be found in these atoms. No? So, ito first energy level to. So, medyo weak yan. No? Ito medyo high energy level yan. No? So, medyo malaki na yung atom niyan. No? Kasi marami ng electrons. No? So, yun yung mga pwede natin ma-predict with all these ideas. No? What else? No? We have the families or the groups. No? So, the groups or the families are the vertical columns. Vertical na column pa. No? In the periodic table. No? Okay, so yan. So, ito yung mga family ni lithium, family ni beryllium, family ni boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. No? And what can we observe with this stuff, no? With the families? No? The elements that can be found in the same family will have the same chemical properties. Ibig sabihin, they will behave the same way. No? That means oxygen that will behave similarly with that of sulfur. That means it can form two bonds, no? It can contain lone pairs, so on and so forth, no? Okay, so bakit, no? The reason why they possess the same property is because they have the same number of valence electrons, no? Sir, ano yung valence electrons? Those are just the electrons on the outer shell of your atom. Yung electrons sa labas ng atom. So, for lithium, you have one valence electron. For beryllium, you have two valence electrons. For the boron family, you have three. The carbon family, four. Nitrogen, five. Oxygen family, fluorine family, and the noble gases. No? So, walo yun. No? So, paano sir yung nasa gitna? No? Medyo tricky tong nasa gitna. No? So, they do not follow the trend talaga. But that's the idea. No? But if you take a look, no, at the element and you find it na same siya with this element, kunwari, same family siya with this element, then you will expect that they will show the same properties. Nitrogen forms 3 bonds. Phosphorus also do. No? Carbon can form 4 bonds. Si silicon, ganun din. No? Oxygen, it can form 2 bonds with 2 lone pairs. Sulfur, ganun din. No? These halides, no? They can form 1 bond. No? So, pare-parehas lang sila ng properties talaga. So, that's the idea. Actually, with that concept in mind, no, there were scientists that are thinking of, since tayo sa Earth, no, we are carbon-based compounds, is it possible for somewhere in the universe to have silicon-based compounds? No? Dito na pumapasok yung theory na may mga stones na buhay daw, no? So yun, may mga stones daw na buhay, so sa ibang planets or even here sa Earth, no? So they're trying to discover that kasi taking a look into the periodic table, carbon and silicon are in the same family. So that means the chemical reactions that silicon can do should be similar to that of carbon. If carbon can support life, silicon must, no, support life as well. But again, no, the idea is still not really proven. No? Pero malay mo, no, somewhere in the universe may silicon-based life. No? Yung glass nagsasalita. No? Mga ganun bagay. But yeah, we cannot say na debunk yan. No? Kasi wala pang findings masyado. But that's the idea, no? Just if familiar lang kayo, no? Tapos yun. Okay, so yun lang naman. Then we have here the metals, no? Balik ulit tayo sa periodic table. This part of the periodic table, ito mga nasa left side, mostly metal sila. And then we have this hagdan, this staircase, no? The elements that can be found in this staircase are metalloids, no? So this is actually the boundary between metals and non-metals, no? So metals, they can conduct electricity. Non-metals, they do not, but metalloids or semi-metals may or may not, depending on their properties, no? And we usually use these metalloids as our, as the components for our semiconductors, no? Yung ating mga computer chip, gawa sila sa silicon, no? Wala, yan na naman, siguro meron naman nakaisip, no? So, ibig sabihin, sir, kapag possible yung silicon na mag-support ng buhay, possible din kaya sa artificial intelligence na sakupin tayo. Malay ko na dyan, no? But that's the idea, no? So, yun. So, these metalloids, we can use their properties, ang pagiging, semi-metal nila to create semiconductors, no? Or capacitors, transistors, basta yan, no? So, yun yung idea. So, yun lang. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Then again, no, on the last part of this discussion, we will focus on the periodic trends na. Because, as I told you earlier, no, that we can actually predict the trends, no? We can predict the properties of atoms based on the arrangement, no? On their arrangement in this table, no? If they are on the same family, they should have the same properties. If they are on the same periods, they should have the same energy levels, di ba? Okay. And with all those in mind, no, nagawa nila itong periodic trends, no? Okay, so this is the periodic trends. According to this trend, if you are going to look into the atomic radius or the size of atoms, it increases from top to bottom and right to left. Take note nyo yan, no? Kaya you can just take the screenshot of this whole picture, no? Okay. So, as you go down the periodic table daw, sabi, the size of your atom increases, no? Bakit kaya, no? Ba't lumalaki yung atom as it goes down the family? The reason is because dumadami na rin yung electrons. Remember, every time you add a proton, you also add electrons, no? And yung electrons, if marami sila, no? For example, ito yung atom. Saan ballpen? For example, ito yung atom ko, no? Okay. So, kunwari, isang electron lang yan, no? Pag dumami na yung electron, ano mangyayari, no? So, it will occupy much bigger space, no? So, that means the size of your atom will increase, no? Sir, paano to? Kasi, di ba, kapag dumadaming electrons, dapat lumalaki. So, dapat yung trend nyo po dito naman is from left to right increasing. So, siguro ganun yung naisip ng iba, no? Pero bakit dito sa graph natin, the size of the atom increases on the opposite direction? Yun, siguro, valid question yun, ha? So, yun. So, ako na yung nagtatanong ng questions para sa mga nahihiya magtanong na. So, yun. So, atomic radius, tumataas siya from top to bottom because dumadami yung electrons. Sir, paano kapag ganito nga, no? From left to right, dapat dapat lumaki yung atomic radius. Diba? Kasi dumadami electrons habang pumunta ka doon. Valid point yon, yes. But, ganito kasi nangyayari. As you add protons, you add electrons, diba? So, imagine this, no? So, kunwari, ito yung hydrogen. Ito yung lithium. Ito yung beryllium, no? Okay, so ano nangyayari, no? Yung isang electron dito sa lithium, isang proton lang yung hihila sa kanya, no? For Teka lang, may guess. For beryllium, ano meron no? So, I have 2 protons na that will pull the electrons. The same is true for the rest of the elements dito, no? Across the period, no? Okay, so marami na may bunch of protons na in the nucleus, no? Teka lang, lumabas pa na. Okay, so ganito yung nangyayari, no? If there is an increased number of protons, what will happen is that the strength of pull ng protons from the electrons, hihilahin nila ng malakas yung electrons, no? So that means as you increase the number of electrons and as you increase the number of protons, the size will shrink somehow kasi dumadami yung positive sa gitna, no? Dumadami yung positive sa nucleus. So what will happen? The electrons on the outer side of the atom will be pulled towards into it, no? So yun, mas mahihila sila papaloob, no? Okay, so parang ganun yung idea. So as you go from left to right, yes, dumadaming electrons, but dumadami din yung protons, no? So instead na mas lumaki lalo, mas lalo silang nahihila paloob, no? So the atomic radius will surely increase from right to left, no? Not left to right, no? Summarize natin. Left to right, the atomic radius decreases. Right to left, the atomic radius increases. Question, bakit? Because as you increase the number of protons across the period, meaning from left to right, no? Electrons are being pulled much stronger than it was before, no? Ibig sabihin, mas malakas yung hila ng electrons. No? Mas malakas yung hila ng mga protons sa electrons, kaya mas lalong lumiliit, no? As you go from left to right. Sir, paano naman yung top to down, no? So, conserve pa rin naman, no? Yung idea na malaki talaga yung mga nandito sa left side, no? So, yan. So, yun yung first periodic trend natin. So, atomic radius, top to bottom increases, right to left increases. Let's now proceed with electron affinity. When we say electron affinity, the word affinity means their desire to get the electrons, yung tendency for them to abstract the electrons na. Bakit siya nag-i-increase as you go towards the right side of the periodic table? Bakit kaya, no? Because yung pusa ka pumasok, no? So, okay, so the idea is that bakit nagiging stronger yung electron affinity from left to right and bottom to top, no? The reason why is ganito, no? The elements that can be found on the last part of your periodic table, ito, no? The elements here, no? They really want to be noble gases, no? Gusto nila maging noble gases. Parang ito yung ultimate sana all for the atoms, no? Ito yung idol nila, no? Body cakes, no? So, yan yung mga gusto nila gayahin. So, sabi nila, I wanna be a noble gas, no? So, for them to be a noble gas, hindi pwede magpalit yung atom ng identity niya, no? So, walang change of identity dito. Instead, ang gagawin ng mga atoms na yan is that they will abstract the electrons, no? So, they can copy the electron configuration of the noble gases, no? So, yun yung idea. Hindi pwedeng yung fluorine maging neon. No? Remember, magkaibang atoms yon. Ang pwede lang gawin nila is gayahin kung ano yung meron ng noble gases, which is the electron configuration. Okay? So, that means, if you want to copy the electron configuration of your noble gas, you have to get electrons. No? Si fluorine, katabi niya, si neon. It's like isang electron away na lang siya para maging noble gas. So, parang siya yung friend mo na nagmamadali na, no? Uy, gusto ko na talaga maging noble gas, no? So, mataas ang kanyang affinity for electron. Gusto niya talaga manghihila ng electrons towards himself, no? That's compared to oxygen, no? Yan. So for oxygen, medyo malayo siya sa neon. So medyo wala pa siyang masyadong gusto niya, pero hindi naman kasintindi ni fluorine, no? So ganun yung idea, no? Okay, so for electron affinity, again, in layman's term, ito yung desire for your atom to imitate the noble gas configuration, no? So gusto nila gayahin yung electron configuration ng noble gases. Okay, so the reason why it's from left to right increasing is that because as you go from left to right, you are going near the noble gas, no? Mas lumalapit ka papunta sa noble gas. Ibig sabihin nun, onting step na lang, naging noble gas configuration ka na. So your desire for electron increases, no? Paano naman tong electron affinity, no? Ay, sige po, Zylene.
Sir, may question po ako.
Sige po.
Sir, bakit po yung fluorine yung pinakamataas na electron affinity instead of hydrogen po?
Si hydrogen kasi, ito yung kwento dito is yung stability naman, no? So, for the s orbitals kasi, medyo weak lang talaga yung energy na kailangan, no? Medyo weak lang yung energy na kailangan niya para manguha ng electron as compared to fluorine, no? Si fluorine kasi, malakas yung energy na kailangan niya para manguha ng electron. So, hence, mas mataas yung property niya compared to hydrogen, no? So, yun.
So, thank you po.
Ayun. Yun lang yung kwento dyan, no? So, yun. Si fluorine kasi, nasa p orbital na yung electron, no? So, nasa p orbital na niya ilalagay yung extra electron. So, hence, mas malakas na energy yung kailangan niya, no? As compared to hydrogen na nasa s orbital lang. So, medyo chillax lang siya. Pero si fluorine, G na G, no? So, yun yung idea. Okay, so thank you for that. Okay, so question, bakit naman, sir, dito sa electron affinity, it increases from bottom to top, no? And nasa right side lang naman yung nasa right side lang naman yung noble gas. Ba't di na lang nila gayahin yung kay fluorine, no? So, the answer there is that, ganito, no? Remember atomic radius? Malaki na kasi yung atom, no? So, ibig sabihin, if kukuha pa sila ng electron sa labas, no, medyo weak na lang yung energy na kailangan, no. Parang effortless na lang nilang kukunin, no. So medyo malayo na kasi electron sa labas, no. So mag-effort pa ba sila? Parang hindi na, no. Unlike fluorine na maliit lang, no. So mas malakas yung pwede niya hila. Mas malakas yung hilang pwede niyang gawin kasi mas malapit yung electron na hihilahin niya sa nucleus as compared to that of yung nasa baba. Masyado na kasi malayo yung electron. So, medyo mahina na yung hila niya. Mahina na yung pull towards itself. No? So, that's why the electron affinity increases from bottom to top. No? Masyado na kasi malaki yung size ng atom. Hence, the lesser the pull. No? So, ganun. Medyo mahirap na i-pull. Kasi malaki na siya, no? Unlike itong si fluorine, very energetic. So, hilahin niya ng malakas yan. Kasi lapit lang sa kanya eh. Okay? So, that's the trend, no? So, we have atomic radius increasing from top to bottom, right to left. That has something to do with the nuclear charge, no? Yung dumadami yung proton sa nucleus, no? And then, ito naman, electron affinity. This is the desire to be that of the noble gas configuration. So si fluorine ang pinakamalakas compared to hydrogen, no? Because of the fact that mas malakas na energy yung kaya i-exert ni fluorine kasi mas energetic si p orbital kaysa sa s, no? So parang nasapawan siya. Pero ganun yung idea, no? Sige. So dito naman tayo, ionization energy. So parang this is the counterpart of electron affinity, no? When you say ionization energy, this is the energy that you will require, no, to get the electron from the atom. Ganito na lang yung logic diyan, no? Kunwari, ikaw ay fan ng isang banda, kunwari, K-popper ka, BTS ka, Purple ka, no? Kunwari, gustong-gusto mo yung mga BTS stuff, no? Edi, the more tendency na kunin mo yung mga BTS stuff, diba? Pero kapag kunwari may friend ka na aagawin yun sa'yo, ionization energy yun na. So, kunwari, ito si ionization energy yung friend mo na magnanakaw ng gamit mo. No? Siyempre, ayaw mo ibigay agad. No? So that means for your objects or for your electrons to be pulled off from you, that means more energy yung kailangan. No? Mas malakas na energy yung kailangan bago manakaw yung electron. Okay? So that means, no, if you want to remove the electron, no, of an atom, mas malakas yun kay fluorine, and even the noble gases na, mas malakas yung energy that you have to input to get the electron from them, no, for them to be ionized. No? So yun yung idea. Okay, so yun lang naman yung masishare ko kay ionization energy. So yung logic na lang dito is, kung gusto niya manguha ng electron, then pahirapan yon nakawin sa kanya. So yun. Gustong-gusto niya ng electron, that means ayaw niya magpanakaw. Ibig sabihin, malakas na energy yung kailangan mo in order to get that electron from it. No? So yun yung logic ko dyan para sa ionization energy. Ito, metallic character, ito naman, nakita naman natin sa periodic table, no? As you go to the diagonal, right, left down, the metallic character increases, no? Ang pinaka-obvious reason diyan would be sa electrons nga, no? The electrons at the outer shell of these elements found in here, they are far enough, from the nucleus to be held back. No? So yan, ibig sabihin masyado na kasi malayo yung electron. So instead na i-hold back pa siya ng atom, wala na siyang gagawin. Sige, mag-let go na ako ng electron. So parang ganyan yung idea. No? Masyado na kasi malaki yung atoms here sa baba. That's why it's easier for them to let go of those electrons na lang. And the easier for them to let go the electrons, that means metallic yung kanilang property. Because remember, metals, they usually give off electrons, di ba? So that's the concept. For non-metallic character, ito naman yung mga ayaw mamigay ng electron. Gusto nila tumanggap lang, no? So yun. So yun lang yung concept dyan. No? So yun yung summary nitong mga words dito, no? Ay, ito sa lab nyo to actually dapat yung electron configuration. Pang lab to. So, naligaw siya dyan. Okay, so, but anyway, so that's the summary of all these terms that are described in your PowerPoint. Ito, dinagdag ko na lang. No? So, you can take a screenshot. I actually found that on Wikipedia. No? Okay, so let's summarize what we discussed about the periodic table. And that means that's the end of chapter. So, summarize natin. So, we started with Duberreimer, wherein he arranged the elements on triads depending on their properties. So, if you find the atom is in this triad, that means they will behave the same. So, sodium, lithium, potassium, they usually form soaps when added to oil. So, magkakasama sila ng property. Meanwhile, yung calcium, strontium, barium, they do not react with oil, so iba yung chemical properties nila. Hence, a different triad for them, no? But, yun nga, the problem that Johann Wolfgang Duberreiner encountered is that dumadami na yung atoms. No? So, dumadami na yung discover na atoms, so the triads would not be sufficient enough to explain all those phenomena. Hence, the formation of the octaves by Jan Newlands. No? So, still apply the concept by Duberreiner to arrange the atoms based on their properties, but what Newlands found is that there is a repeating pattern, repeating properties, no, as you go from the first to the eighth element, no. So there is a periodicity, as they can say, no. Parang nauulit lang yung properties. So new term, no. Then yun, later on, the octaves isn't able to contain all the elements that are discovered na. So yan, Dmitry Mendeleev created a big periodic table that is able to contain all the elements na even before its discovery. No? And he was even able to predict some of those elements. No? So what he did is that he arranged the elements on atomic weights and then arranged them into families and periods. No? But see, Henry Moseley, according to Henry Moseley, it would be better, no, it would be nicer if you will arrange your periodic table in terms of the atomic number instead of the atomic weight. No? Okay, so Mendeleev followed, and then we have our modern periodic table. No? These are the families, yung pababa, vertical. These are the periods. Okay, for the periods, you have the same energy level. For the families, you have the same valence electrons. You have the same chemical reactivities. No? Okay. So these are the metals. That means they are very willing to give off their electrons. These are the non-metals. They are not really, they don't really like giving off electrons because they want to be noble gases, diba? So instead of giving them off, they will just accept those electrons no, from these atoms. No? Then we have metalloids. So this is the boundary between the two. Okay. So actually, we use metalloids no, in technology nga. Sabi ko nga kanina, we can use this in semiconductors, no, transistors, ICs, and even solar panels. No. Our solar panels are composed of silicon wafers. No. So yun. They just enhance their properties. No. So, bakit kaya metalloids yung nilagay? Ba't hindi na lang metals? Kasi kung purpose naman is to conduct electricity, why not use metals? Ito kasi yung catch, no? When using metals, they oxidize in the air. That means nangangalawang. Yun yung downside na itong mga metals. Sir, yung gold naman din nangangalawang. Opo, hindi talaga nangangalawang. Pero, imagine the price of the technology, no? Imagine yung price ng computer mo kapag gold yung ginamit dyan, di ba? Lugi. So, hindi siya affordable. Ito yung mas affordable na mga silicon. Actually, you can extract silicon from the sand sa beach, no? So, easy to get yung material and it will not rust, no? So, good property siya for a semiconductor, IC, no? And solar panel. Then, yun, sabi nga natin that in the periodic table, we can observe periodic trends. So these are the properties that can be predicted no, by just looking at the periodic table. So according to what they discussed, the size of the atom increases from top to bottom because there is an increase of number of electrons. So the more electrons, the bigger the atoms. No? However, for the horizontal version naman, baliktad yung direction. Instead from left to right, right to left yung increasing trend. No? Why? Because of the increasing number of protons. No? As you increase the number of protons, what happens is that the pull, no? The electrons are being pulled more towards the center. No? So habang pumunta ka sa right side, mas lumiliit yung yung atoms na. Because of the increased influence of the nucleus. Electron affinity, this is the desire of your atom to abstract electrons in order for it to be a noble gas, no? So yan. So the most electronegative atom is electron affinity atom or electronegative atom is the fluorine, no? Because the p orbital energy, the electron no, to be filled sa p orbital is stronger than that of the s orbital. That's why mas stronger si fluorine kaysa sa hydrogen. No? So yan. May kinalaman na yung p orbitals dyan. kaysa sa s orbital. So for ionization energy, ganun lang din yung logic, no? If the atom wants electrons, hence, if you want to get that electron from the atom, it will be harder. Mas mahirap nakawan yung taong gustong-gusto yung bagay na yun, di ba? So, ganun na yung idea. They follow the same trend, no? Okay, so as you go from left to right, electron affinity and the ionization energy increases, no? Because they are reaching the noble gas configuration here. But for the electron, for the vertical component naman, from bottom to top, ano nangyayari? The electron affinity increases naman, no? Bakit mas mahina sa baba kaysa sa taas? Because the atoms at the bottom part are big na, no? Masyado na silang malaki. So, if they want to reach out electrons outside, no? Medyo mahina na yung influence ng nucleus kasi ang layo na ng electrons eh. So, malayo na kasi masyado yung electrons. So, medyo hindi na ganun kalakas yung pull nila, no? So, hence, the elements at the bottom part will have lower electron affinity. Okay, so yan. As you go up, lumiliit yung atomic size. That means the atom can easily access the electrons outside your atom, di ba? So yun. So mas madali manghila. Mas malakas na yung hila niya. For metallic character naman, again, no, the greater or the bigger your atom is, no, the electrons outside it, no, yung mga valence electrons niya, medyo too far to be reached na, no. So it would be easier for them to let go na lang instead of holding back, no. So yun, masakit, yun. So yan lang yung idea. Okay, so do you have to remember this, no? Okay lang. Okay lang. Kayo bahala. You have the table with you naman eh. Pero it would be nice, no, if you know the table. Or if you know the trend well, no? So yun lang. So that's the coverage of our ano tawag dito? Lecture class, no? So yun. So with that, let's just answer some few problems, no? Sagot na lang tayo ng ibang problems. Siyempre, hindi yung calculation. Okay, so let's try number 4. Yung 1 and 3 pang lab to, nakalimutan ko. So anyway, so number 4, using only the periodic table, arrange the elements in each set in order of increasing ionization energy. So sige. So for number 1, we have lithium, sodium, potassium, no? So kailangan natin ng periodic table para makita natin yung location nila. Lithium, sodium, potassium. So increasing ano daw sabi na? Ionization energy. So if we're going to arrange these three elements in terms of increasing ionization energy, sino yung mas malakas yung ionization energy? Strongest yung kanyang ionization energy. Anyone can recite, no? Sino sa tatlo yung mas malakas yung ionization energy? Ayan, so Jasiri.
Lithium po.
Lithium po. Because the trend is, as you go from bottom to top, ionization energy increases, no? Kaya left to right, no? Ionization energy increases as well. So if we're going to arrange that based on ionization energies, then the least energetic would be potassium, followed by sodium, then ba't kayo ulit? Then lithium. So that's the answer. Potassium will have the lowest ionization energy. Lithium will have the highest ionization energy. For the reason that potassium atom is big kasi, no? Malaki na yung potassium kaysa sa lithium. Hence, the strength, yung pull niya sa kanyang electrons ay mahina na. So, madali na lang siya nakawan. So, ganyan. So, kumbaga, sa periodic table, ang pinakamadali manakawan ng electron si francium. Ang pinakamahirap si fluorine, no? Sige. So, thank you very much, Jessiri. Carbon, nitrogen, neon. Sige, carbon, nitrogen, neon naman daw. Anyone? Anyone? Carbon, nitrogen, neon. Carbon, nitrogen, neon. Lian. Sige po. Lian, Giselle.
Sir, yung mas mataas po ba?
Apo. Mas mataas is?
Yung neon po.
And yung weakest ay si?
Neon po.
Si?
Neon po.
Mas malakas si neon and yung pinakamahina.
Carbon po.
Yun, yes po. Thank you. Okay, because according to the periodic trend, no, as you go from left to right, the ionization energy increases, no. So, syempre, nasa rightmost si neon. So, siya talaga yung strongest, no. Si carbon, medyo nandun pa siya sa left side. So, siya yung magiging weakest. Nitrogen is in between. So, nasa gitna siya. Sir, bakit kaya yung neon, mahirap kunan ng electrons? But mataas yung ionization energy niya. Okay, because noble gases, no? Ano ba meron sa noble gases? They have their complete electron configuration as in kumpleto na, no? So, pag kukunin mo yung bagay mula sa something na kumpleto na, medyo mahirap talaga yan, no? Okay? Because all the electrons are paired perfectly, no? So, for you to get that electron from it, no, it would be very hard for you to pull the electron from the noble gas, no? Kasi kompleto na perfect na lahat So, wala na talagang titibag doon. Unless, kayanin mo yung energy na kailangan, di ba? So, yun. What else? So, thank you, Lian, no? Oxygen, carbon, and fluorine, no? Oxygen, carbon, and fluorine. Anyone? Jamie.
Fluorine po.
Sino yung strongest?
Fluorine po.
Si?
Fluorine po.
And yung weakest is?
Carbon.
Carbon. Okay. Nasa gitna si oxygen. Still following the same trend, no? Left to right, increasing. Bottom to top, increasing, no? So, yun. BRCLF. BRCLF, no? BRCLF, no? Sino yung may? Ay, thank you pala. BRCLF. BRCLF. Okay. Increasing ionization energy. Sige, si Jennifer. Denise.
Ang highest ionization energy po is fluorine and ang lowest is bromine.
Yes, and Cl is in between, fluorine is in between bromine and fluorine. So, thank you.
Bromine pala. Oh, hindi. Alam ko yan. Ayun, no? Ano yung pinakamata?
Kasama promil.
Bromine. Bromine pala.
So, yan lang. So, yan. So, still following the same trend, no? So, yun yung idea. Okay. So, ito magra-random circles ako dito sa ating periodic table. Then, I want you to predict yung arrange them pala, no? Arrange increasing atomic size. Sige. Ito. Mag-highlight ako ng elements, then I want you to choose kung sino may pinakamalaki at sino pinakamaliit. Ayan. Paunahan. Si Jessiri. Sino pinakamalaki?
Yung C po. Carbon.
Pinakamalaking atomic size?
Carbon po.
Mm-hmm.
Tapos yung Pinakamaliit po yung GE.
Atomic size, ha?
Ay, baliktad po pala.
Ayun, ayun. Okay, so atomic size, ang pinakamalaki is?
Yung GE po.
Yung
Tapos
GE.
maliit po yung carbon.
Yes, no. So yun yung idea, no? Because germanium, it consists of sandamukal na electrons. Na malaki na yung electrons niya, so malaki na yung size niya. Okay? So smallest would be carbon. Okay, so thank you very much. Ano pa kaya pwede natin gawin dito? Siguro I will, ano na lang, no? Magbibigay ako sa inyo ng mga practice activities na lang in the future. But anyway, that's the idea lang, no? As long as you remember this, no? Alam niyo yung periodic trend, then we're good to go, no? So, yan. So, I hope na understand natin, no? Okay, so if you have any confusion of the highest order, sabi nga nila, you just let me know, no? Sige. So, to sum up our discussion, siguro sagutan na lang natin to, A to F, no? Sige. Kasi yung letter G sa lab yan, eh. Sige. So, to sum up our discussion, let's answer the following. True or false? Letter A. Matter is anything that has mass and volume. Sabay-sabay. Ang sagot ay sa true, di ba? So, true yan. Okay, letter B. Sino gusto magsagot? Ay, magbabasa tapos magsasagot. Si Lian. Naka-raise lang pala yung hand.
Ay, po. Letter B po.
Apo.
A mixture is composed of two or more pure substances. True po.
True. Ayan. Magtatawag si Lian. Hindi, joke lang. Mahirap gawin dito eh. Sige. So, thank you, Lian. Next, letter C. Nakita ko si Aiza Tolentino kanina. Sige, Aiza. Letter C.
An element is a pure substance. True po.
True po. Yun. Sige. So, letter D. Sige, si Lian Micaela.
Letter D po, a heterogeneous mixture can be separated into pure substances, but a homogeneous mixture cannot. True po.
Hetero can be. Ano kaya yung answer? Di ba kanina may kwento tayong letter D, distillation. So, ibig sabihin, sino gusto mag-steal? Raise hand sa mga gusto mag-steal. Okay, so ako na lang mag-steal chain. So, the answer would be false, no? Kasi sabi natin, di ba, may distillation, no? So, even if you have a homogeneous mixture, you can still separate them into pure substances by applying the concepts of different chemical properties, such as boiling point, no? So, you can separate water from alcohol or alcohol from water to make pure substances from homogeneous mixture. So this will be false na. Sige, letter E. So letter E, raise ng hands. Aiza.
A compound consists of elements combined in a fixed ratio. True.
Okay, so true na. Okay, so true. Actually, sa lab na pala to, no? Letter F. Last one. Justin, Andre.
A compound is a pure substance. False po.
Because
Ano po? Mixture po siya. Different elements po.
sige. Any ideas? Sige, si Brent.
Kasi po yung pure substance po, yun po yung element.
Tingin ulit tayo dito sa ating table, sa graph natin. No? Okay. So, looking at this, no, yung pure substance natin, it can be classified as elements or compounds. No? So, regardless of the two, pwede natin sila consider as pure substance. No? But only the time you mix these two, you form mixtures. No? So, yun lang. No? So, that means the answer for F, a compound is a pure substance. No? Pwede pa rin naman, no? They have the same molecules lang. So, yan. So, pure substances, they can be compounds or elements, no? But if you mix elements and compounds, you are creating mixtures. Or if you mix different compounds, you are creating mixtures. Or different elements, you are creating mixtures, no? So, yun lang, no? So, again, no, I think that's all for our discussion. Eh? First time natin makaabot ng ilang oras sa ating class discussion. But anyway, so yan. So thank you for your participation. If you have questions, you can raise them. You can let me know. And regarding your quiz, no, so sabi ng department, nakasabi lang dun sa amin kanina, so sabi nila sa amin that we will do it on Canvas na lang muna. No? So, do it on Canvas so everyone can start with the assessments na. No? So, yun. So, siguro mamaya, no? If hindi mamaya, bukas, no? Pero yun, so I give 5 days kasi, no? For everyone to access the assessment, no? So, 5 days yun. So, if bukas yun, edi until Sunday siya. So, yan lang. Sir, ano yung coverage? Ang coverage lang is yung introduction to chemistry. And there will be some lessons in your lab na mahalo sa lecture din. No? Since mix lang naman tayo sa chapter 1. No? Okay, so yun lang. Okay na siguro tayo na. No? So, do you have any questions po? Any questions in mind? Or okay na tayo? So, feeling ko okay na ba? Naway lahat okay na. O, sige. Okay, so feeling ko wala na tayong questions, no? So, again, I would like to thank you for your participation, no? So,